powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Caplan is in the house today. And Caplan, of course, has been doing his training camp tours all over town, all over the NFL. But here locally, of course, the Eagles with their Sunday night practice getting ready now for their Saturday preseason opener against the Baltimore Ravens. As he joins us now, of course, Adam Caplan's Inside the Birds podcast. You can listen to that on all your podcasting platforms. And he joins us on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Well, Adam, we have a couple interesting storylines that we want to dive into on this Tuesday. How are you, sir?
I'm well. I'm headed to fly to Charlotte and then drive over to Spartanburg, South Carolina, which once was and may still be home of one of the Phillies minor league teams, but Spartanburg in South Carolina there. But for joint practices with the Panthers hosting the Jets on a Wednesday and Thursday.
All right. Well, obviously, we're in the season now. We had the Hall of Fame game the other day. We're in the season, and now we're in Eagles season because Howie Roseman's season is what I should be saying. He has gone out, Adam. We've talked about it a lot. Linebacker. That room looked a little light, little thin. Well, they added 2 veteran names to that linebacking room over the weekend. They were at practice on Sunday night. They did not participate, but Zach Cunningham and Miles Jack are here. What does it really mean to that linebacker room?
Yeah, I've seen some bad speculation. So from message boards and all this stuff, people sounding the alarm for Nakobe Dean. The Eagles aren't concerned about Dean at all. We know what the issues were coming to the draft. He's a little bit smaller, but the reason why they did this is he's dealing with a minor injury, and they have preseason games. They are so light at. First of all, they only really had, if you look at their group, right? You look at Nakobe Dean, who's their starting Mike linebacker. They only play 2 linebackers or 1. They don't play 3. I don't call Reddick is a pass rusher. I'm talking about true off the ball linebackers. They play 2 inside backers, right? So when you really look at it, Morrow has not played at particularly high level. That's a real issue. As we first reported about 2 days after he signed, he had no guaranteed money in his contract. He's clearly cuttable. We'll see if he makes the team. Sean Bradley's only special teamer. He rarely plays on defense, Mike. It would have to be an emergency situation, more or less. Ben Van Sumeren is an undrafted rookie who we reported back right after the draft. Very athletic, but sometimes has trouble processing and misses tackles and so forth. But he's athletic. He fits their analytical data well, so you never know. But he's a long shot. So, Mike, really, when you look at it, and they just cut Davion Taylor. Now they do like Christian Ellis, but he's in the running for the weak side linebacker job. But they don't have a starter there, and they don't have a backup for Dean. So they had no choice. As I said to you Friday on your show, they're going to sign an inside linebacker. I couldn't tell you when it would be. Okay, it was because Dean right now doesn't sound probable that he'll play, and you need to draft at least 4 and play 4 inside linebackers over four quarters. So they had to do something. Now Miles Jack did not play well. He was released by the Steelers. I'm told that they thought he'd lost a step. He's had these knee issues. Zach Cunningham, Mike, is a better football player, better tackler. He's a guy now. If they try to play him next to Dean, Mike, I would be concerned about that because he's really. If you play him in nickel, Mike, that's playing him in passing situations. It wouldn't be prudent. Now, when they're in nickel, or if they're in however they're going to do this, if they're going to play with one linebacker at times, is it going to be Dean as that linebacker? It might be, but we don't know yet. More often than not, it will be Dean, but we'll find out.
So, Adam, it sounds like Dean is still the guy that they're riding. He's probably the top guy on their depth chart. And a guy like Cunningham and Miles Jack, would you say they are battling with Nick Morrow and the rest of those guys for playing time?
I would say, well, one of them, I expect Cunningham to make the team. He'd have to be really bad not to make it. And that would obviously, if he got cut, that would tell you he might be at 28 years old, close to being finished, because there's no team more in dire straits for depth and competition than the Eagles are at the inside linebacker / off the ball linebacker positions. They need someone to back up Dean, which could be Miles Jack. And then on the other side, they need a starter. They don't have one. Morrow is not sewn up the job yet. Ellis hasn't won it yet. Ellis has looked good. And they need to upgrade it. It didn't cost them very much. They got 1-year deals. I haven't got the breakdown yet, but I'm sure it's not very much.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, Mike, it's depth of competition, which quite frankly, let's call it like it is. They didn't have this.
Yeah, well, and that's what Nick Sirianni. That's what Nick Sirianni keeps kind of stressing is more competition. So we're taking him on his word on that. I guess the next question would be between Cunningham and Jack. I don't know if you've heard which of the two has more left in the tank and could be the guy that could contribute more. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, Cunningham. No, that's what I was talking about. No, it would be Cunningham. Now, Jack is the better athlete, Mike. That's what would separate them when they were both at the top of their careers. Cunningham was the sure tackle, one of the better tackling inside linebackers in the National Football League. I should add both have played in the 34. Jack's played in the 34 and a 43. Almost exclusively, Cunningham's played in a 34. The Eagles play at 34 front with 2 overhangs, the same defense they're playing before. We know that they'll play some 5-1, but it's, now I don't think either's played in the Fangio scheme, if I'm not mistaken, so that'll take a little bit of time. They've got time, Mike. They've got 4 weeks before their first game. We forget about that. That's why it's not panic time. And look, they did what they had to do. They had to sign at least one, and because of Dean's injury and lack of depth, they signed 2, and we'll see. It would not be a good sign if neither made it. Boy, that would be surprising.
Yeah, Adam Caplan. So the signings of 2 veteran inside linebackers, big story leading into the week, and we'll see how much these guys play in these 3 preseason games to try to figure out who can make this team there. Another thing that we really haven't touched on a whole heck of a lot is special teams, and that number 3 wide receiving spot. You got Devin Allen. Is he a guy that can actually make the team as a wideout / kick returner? Is he in play as one of those long shots to make the team?
While he's an extreme long shot, let me just say this. Olamide Zaccheaus he's not established himself because he's guaranteed small in his contract. He's not a lock to make the team. Right now, he'd be their 4th receiver. Watkins has the lead. He'd be their 3. They don't know who their 5 is. Britton Covey's their punt returner, although Zaccheaus is competing for it. Covey's got the inside track for it. Mike, they don't know yet. No one's solidified. I would say Watkins clearly has a inside track on it. He's had a better camp than Zaccheaus. But again, we've got 3 weeks of practices in the preseason and training camp. You've got the 3 preseason games plus 3 during practices. Nobody's won these jobs yet. Now, again, Watkins looks good, right? He definitely has done a good job. But Allen, Mike, here's the thing. If you saw that touchdown he had against the Browns in that preseason game where he ran a post route, deep post, and a great catch, a great play. I get it's against the 3s, but nobody on the team has that kind of speed of receiver. It's still an extreme long shot, but because the receiver core behind the top 2, no one's like really that good of a football player. I'm not ruling anything out. I've learned my lesson over 22, 23 years. Strange things have happened. Again, it's a long shot that Allen makes it to team, but what if he starts tearing it up? And by the way, I will tell you that, he was not wearing the sleeve on his calf a couple practices I was at lately. That's a good sign. So hopefully, Mike, he won't have a setback. We know he's been hurt. He's an older player nearing 30. We know he's a track star, and that's the other problem with him, Mike. I just wish he'd devote more time to football. Maybe he'd have a better chance, but let's just see what happens before we start running with nobody. This guy's not making it, this guy's not making it, this guy's making it. Again, it's very early, still in early August.
Would you say right now, though, that Quez Watkins is winning that job, that he's still the incumbent and holding on to his role as the 3rd wide receiver?
As of now, yes. And here's the thing. Joe Banner told us this, the former Eagles president, that you really like players on the final year of their deal. They come in really focused. Watkins, Mike, in 2020, remember when the group in that room was Rager, Fulgham, John Hightower, who I saw last week with the Chargers, and this guy, Watkins, and I think even Deshaun was there. He was a veteran, but Mike, it was a very immature group. The only sort of mature guy in the room was Greg Ward. That's why they kept bringing him back. They knew him. He got pressed in the service because it was a very immature room. He did some good things, but we kind of knew who Greg Ward is at this point of his career. Not a secret. He's at the bottom of the roster. In the end, Mike, it's just Quez has kind of matured. I mean, I know Sirianni speaks well of everybody, but we know that Sirianni, the head coach, really likes this guy. Last year was not good for him, but he's healthy now. He had that shoulder injury, and right now he's clearly leading for the number 3 role.
Adam Caplan, Football at 4 from Inside the Birds podcast and InsideTheBirds.com. By the way, Football at 4 is brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games. Get your game on. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more info, visit OceanAC.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And, we're taking a look at this game coming up on Saturday night. And I guess one of the things we might be able to find out in this game is who's that other corner, the outside corner. If Bradbury or Slay were to miss an extended period of time, I think Saturday night might be a night that we could find out who might be in the lead for that job.
Yeah, and I know some people question why did the Eagles keep Josh Jobe last year when he didn't really contribute. Well, here's the reason why, Mike. They got him in their offseason program this year. He's taken a big step. His understanding of this defense. This is not an easy defense to learn. The match, carry, and deliver at corner, playing the Fangio coverages. It's not easy, and it's different, a little different from what he had at Alabama, but he's taken to it. He's outperformed Greedy Williams through 1.5 weeks. We'll see, Mike, again, there's a lot of camp left. Let's not run with anything until we get at least through 3 weeks here, and all those practices I mentioned earlier. But he's got the inside track over Greedy Williams. He's got a little bit of guaranteed money. That's not going to matter in the end, whether he keeps where he on or not the roster. It's not a lot of money to cut him. It's no big deal if they move on from him. It's not like it's going to hurt their cap. So Williams has got to perform. Williams is a height, weight, speed player. Former second-round pick out of LSU for the Browns. Lots of injuries, lots of inconsistency. Some good football. But he needs to raise his level of play right now. So, again, Josh Jobe's got the inside track, but there's time.
All right. I want to get a quick thought from you on right guard because it seems that Juergens has won that job. Sirianni is kind of saying, well, I don't want to say that yet, but is it clear to you and people that you talk to that Juergens is definitively winning that job?
I would put it this way, Mike. He would have to lose it. He has it. Steen would have to show, he would have to progress so rapidly because remember, as I explained to us before camp, and it's still the same problem, he had to learn completely different techniques, including hand usage and playing inside, playing in that phone booth. He's never played inside before, Mike. So that's been a problem. He's got cross-trained at left tackle, which is obviously his natural position, but his arms are short. That's why teams, including the Eagles, thought he could only play inside. So, look, it's been an adjustment, and Cam Juergens has done a nice job. And, yeah, I mean, it's kind of this is what it is. And he's going to make the team, obviously. That's not in question. But, again, thinking the guy's going to learn all this in 6 OTA practice and rookie camp where he's just trying to he's just listening, being taught, it's just not realistic. I just thought long-term, yes, unless he doesn't know what he's doing next year, he's going to be the guy. But for now, it's going to be Juergens. And again, unless Juergens loses, he would have to lose the job. He's kind of, to answer your question, he's kind of has it. He would just have to play himself out of it.
All right, Adam Caplan, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, Eagles and Ravens this Saturday night. You can listen to the game here with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. Our pregame coverage starts at 6. The start time is 7, and we'll start to see some jobs, I would imagine, materialize, like that third corner like we talked about. Maybe that third wide receiver. I don't know. Running back would be another one. I don't know if they're going to hand up all to Rashad Penny in a preseason game.
See, Mike, we'll preview this on Friday's show. That it's funny you say it because as you were talking there, I started about, okay, well, who are the guys that are going to play? It's very interesting. Since we don't afford preseason games, there's no rhyme or reason why other than the Rams who refuse to play any of their stars in the preseason for any reason, there doesn't seem to be any consistency from team to team and how they take the preseason. Some coaches are used to not play their guys in the preseason. Now there's some they do. But as I've learned on my camp tour, Mike, if you've got joint practices during that week, teams use that as their work for the week, and they wind up not playing the players in the preseason game. So, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll preview more on Friday what Adam's going to be looking at, what Inside the Birds is going to be looking at, and what we're looking at. That's on Friday's edition of Football at 4. And Adam Caplan, like all guests, appeared via the Elite Acura hotline during the summer performance event located on Route 73 North in Maple Shade, online at EliteAcura.com. Enjoy the rest of your travels and training camp, and of course, we'll talk to you on Friday, Adam.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Adam Caplan, everybody here on the Sports Bash, and Football at 4 is brought to you by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the Gallery. Go for Ocean. Go for the win. For more info, visit oceanac.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash.